thank you all for coming today for the celebration of my granny's life. I would like to thank all the family and friends here today, and a special thank you to the Reverend Bates and all those attached to Wellington Church for the support in this difficult time. And we'd also like to thank Darren Stevenson and all of the staff at Stevenson's funeral directors. And to all the staff at Agglomary Hospital, and she'll be our personal family doctor, thank you for going above and beyond the call of duty to make Granny's final days as peaceful and as comfortable as they could have been. There are too many people here to mention who supported us with well wishes, food, and their time over the past few days. We'd like to give special thanks to Mina and to Natty, who are two of the unsung heroes that have provided truly invaluable support. But no, Natty, I'm still not going to help you cheat in the Caravan Club quizzes, so don't even think of calling me, but I'll give you Trevor's number afterwards. And finally, I think it's really important to thank the staff and our friends in Cornwall who have supported my Uncle Philip on our behalf. So something I really want to enforce is that this is a celebration. I think it's important that in what is a sad day for us, that we take a moment and keep our perspective. My granny led a full and fantastic life for nearly 85 years. My granny had her senses as sharp as ever right until her final hours, and I know for sure that she had a better social life in the past 10 years than any of her grandsons do now. I'm sure Nadine's will be a far quieter place from now on. Even last Christmas at 84, Granny was the life and soul of the party. And one thing that has been missing over the past few days, and especially today, is Granny herself, as she absolutely loved getting people together. So on behalf of her grandsons, I'm going to give you a small insight into our relationship with Granny. I'm not quite sure what I'm doing this is. I was quite clearly the third favourite grandson, closely behind Sandy and a country mile behind Mark. So my earliest memories of Granny was when she looked after Mark and I as we were growing up. Granny refused to have a childminder for me when I was young, as a childminder obviously could not do as good a job at Granny as bringing me up. And this is something I realised early on, and I'm sure all of you will agree. Granny was not backward in letting you know what she thought was the best thing to do. For someone so slight and small, her ability to command a room and make sure that everybody was looked after is something that I'm not sure will be replicated. Although someone's done quite a good job in the past few days, her daughter, or as I call her, little twin. So from day one, when Mum and Dad were out working, Mark and I spent our days with Granny and Granda. I think between us we had about 3,000 cups of tea, 6,000 milk tray biscuits, 200 yogurt cakes, and we watched Mrs. Doubtfire about 100 times. So Granny would have been working and preparing all this when Granda had us distracted on our river walks or playing cricket. I remember her protective side shining through when Mark or Granda would have been a bit tough on me, the baby. So another thing that Mark and I always liked doing was when someone came to visit, they always got a wee cup of tea and buns or some food set in front of them, regardless of whether they wanted it or not. So her clever ploy was to wait until you were seated comfortably with a large portion of her dish of the day in front of you, and then she had you softened up. So we actually thought that Granny missed her vocation in life. She probably should have been a detective in the family. So I'm not sure if anyone here has ever seen Father Ted, but you know when you went to see Granny, it was the Mrs. Doyle technique. It was like, oh, you'll take one cup, son. Like, you'll take a wee cup in your hand, go on, go on. You kept saying no, and then you got it. So you were softened up, and then boom, the questions started coming. So the one Mark and I always got were, so, any girls? And Mark would always tell her I had, obviously. So we would always tell Granny when people came that when someone wasn't looking, that they wanted some more food. So the plate kept stacking up higher and higher and higher, and nobody would ever leave that house hungry. And this is something that stuck with her until her final days, making her know Mark and some of you her fry up every Saturday. And this is something that we're so thankful we had the opportunity with Sandy here this Christmas to all get together with her Granny for sausages, bacon, etc, 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 etc. And I've never seen her happier. And good luck telling Granny not to fry her food as it wasn't healthy or that you wanted green tea. I tried that once or twice, but to no avail. So from the start, Granny was the key part of our lives. And as she always told me when I would have joked that Mum did everything for me, never you forget son, this is the hand that raised you. Or, this is the hand that rocked the cradle. So, but something that didn't really sit right with Mark and I was why there was always these photos arriving from Aberdeen of a certain little chubby ginger cousin that were being placed in front of our photos. And still to this day, as Mark mentioned recently, the only photo in Granny's bedroom is of that certain individual. So something we did pick up then, and I think this is something that a lot of us have gotten from Granny, is how we all had fun with her and each other. So I would sit and tell Granny how I love my other Granny, how my other Granny was the greatest, or how Mina had the best cooking skills, or how my mum always knew best. And all of these were met with a similar reaction. I wish Mark was here. Don't forget, son, I taught your mummy everything she knows, and I've forgotten more than she'll ever learn. And isn't wee Margie great though? I miss Sandy. So Granny always gave as good as she got, and I hope that this is something that will live on through all of us today. So a good example of this, and something that still, was a running joke, and showing you what our family is like, has gone over the past 5 years. Every single year, Granny told us that this would be her last Christmas, last Easter, last birthday that she would ever have, and I would never ever see her again if I went to London. Even the most serious of issues she was able to break down and have some fun with. We would always say, Granny, how many sits am I going to have to buy before they all go out of fashion? And she would say, no son, this is it, this is your last year. So how ironic that yesterday 2 of her grandsons and one of her sons were running around making sure they had a suit that actually fitted. But I'm not going to try and pull the wool over your eyes. As you know, Granny had a serious side to her, as well as always being able to laugh. Granny had an amazingly strong personality and always knew best. A lighter example of this is when I got my dream job in an investment bank in Canary Wharf in London. When I told my Granny this, it was met with utter disgust. She refused to let me go to that there London, as there were plenty of good banks on Wellington Street. She told me I would go away and never come back again, and boy was she good at a guilt trip. Granny truly believed that she knew what was best for me, and was determined to make this happen. Even in her final hours, she told me she'd speak to the manager of a bank in Ballymena and get me a job as I had to come home. And this wasn't a streak that was saved for me. When Trevor told Granny he was going to study engineering at Queen's, she asked him why was he not going to become a doctor? After all this, you're going to be sitting below Mowbray and Franklin Templeton's garage? And this is not forgotten. In her final days even, she asked him why did he never become a doctor and have a real job? Mum was following the path that Granny had laid out for her. She had completed her training and was on her way to becoming a teacher. Then she decided to change her career. When a neighbour asked Granny in the following days what my mum was doing, Granny told her, she isn't teaching. I couldn't tell you what it is, but it isn't a real job. When looking back at all of these events, they have one common denominator. Granny was trying to make our lives better. Granny spent her life looking after others. Did she wind some people up in doing this? Yes. Did she maybe look back and wish she had done some things differently? I'm sure she did. But what I want us all to take away is that Granny spent her life trying to do what she believed was best to help others. She maintained her strength of character and her caring but empowering personality up until her final hours, and she never believed in giving in. I think as we celebrate her life today, this is something we can all learn from and take some from her fiery determination. My Granny led a fantastic and full life, and as I said previously, this must continue to be a celebration. In the weeks and months that follow, let's continue to reminisce and tell stories that will give us all strength of purpose and help continue to live out the character she was.